Today on The Athlete's Mindset, I'm joined by former Nebraska quarterback and current member of the San Francisco 49ers, Adrian Martinez. Adrian stepped into one of the most pressure-filled roles in college football, starting quarterback at the University of Nebraska, where expectations are high. In a state where football means everything, he carried the weight of a program, a fan base, and a tradition that runs deep. In this episode, we talk about what that pressure really felt like, how he handled criticism and adversity, and the lessons he learned during his time in Lincoln. We also dive into his decision to transfer to Kansas State, his time in the UFL, and what it's been like stepping into an NFL quarterback room with the 49ers. This conversation is about identity, leadership, and navigating expectations when the spotlight is constant. Adrian's journey hasn't been linear, but it's been defined by growth, perspective, and positivity. I'm so excited for this conversation. Let's get into it. Adrian, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm stoked to have you on. Obviously, been kind of just following your journey, all the successes you've had, especially lately. But to start, I want to start out with your time at Nebraska. What went into your decision to committing to the University of Nebraska, and what was it like when you first stepped on campus?
Yeah, well, recruiting, I guess it has been and always will be crazy for those who engage in it and are lucky enough to get scholarship offers to go to different places to play the sport they love. And my experience was definitely no different. I ended up being committed to 3 different schools over the course of my recruitment. Initially to Cal. Like, my dream school was go to Stanford. That's where I wanted to go. I'm from Fresno, California. The academic prestige, and at that time they were really, really good at football, coming off that era with Andrew Luck and then Christian McCaffrey. Like, they were a really good team. And if I couldn't get a scholarship offer there, I wanted to go to USC or UCLA. Well, as it turned out, those were literally the 3 schools that did not offer me. Like, I ended up having like 35 plus offers, and those 3 schools, they went with other guys, so that's like the nature of it. I'd committed to Cal at some point late in my sophomore year, or maybe early my junior year, one or the other. And then their coach, Sonny Dykes, gets fired. And for me, I wanted to stay committed, and I did until the new coach got hired, and they were kind of lukewarm on me. And then my recruitment blew up. Like, I was having a really good season. I started getting offers from all over the country. And then all of a sudden they came back into the picture and were just giving me tons of love and like, you're our guy. And my dad and I remember being like, okay, we don't think these guys are legit, like, we're going to go in a different direction. And ultimately I ended up committing to Tennessee that summer. And feeling really good about it. Like, Tennessee had everything I wanted, a historic program, a school I could have, like, really enjoy going to, a great alumni base, all those things for me, I was looking at. And their coach gets fired after the season. So yeah, it was Butch Jones, and they just didn't live up to expectations. I think they went 7-5 or maybe 8-4. And, just didn't do well enough, and he gets fired, and the new guy comes in, and they recruit me pretty well, and we just didn't mesh that great. And my recruitment was semi-open. I took an official visit to Ohio State. I was thinking about going out to Oregon, even Fresno State, the home school where I'm from. That was definitely a thought. And Nebraska came into the picture at the perfect time with Coach Frost. I was one of the first people they offered, and they flew out from Orlando to come meet me and my family, and really just went the whole distance, and really sold me on the experience. And Nebraska was everything I wanted, like that great alumni base, that great fan base, a historic school. And really it was a great opportunity to come in, compete, and do everything that I wanted to do, which was play at the highest level. And playing in the Big Ten was definitely an opportunity to do that. So it worked out great. I remember I chose to enroll early, and I got there in January, and it was a bit of a culture shock. Just, it was freezing, like immediately a winter storm, like upon getting on campus. So Um, Getting through all of that, I mean, I definitely don't regret any of those decisions. I think it
Mhm.
played out the way it was supposed to, and yeah, I mean, it was a fun experience, just a lot. It was hectic.
Yeah. Your freshman year was a lot different than I want to say most freshman athletes was, because you were named the starting quarterback. What was kind of your initial thought when you were named the starting quarterback? And then did you feel pressure? Just, it's Nebraska, Nebraska football is like this state's pride and joy, and you're a freshman. Did you feel a lot of pressure from when you got named the starter?
No, because that was part of my expectation.
Mhm,
That was something that I was striving towards and was always a goal of mine. And part of the reason I picked Nebraska, like I wanted that responsibility. And to be honest, I had a good knowledge on Nebraska,
mhm,
the history behind the program and the expectations, but it wasn't until maybe midway through that first year
mhm,
where I really grasped, like how big Nebraska football is, the type of impact you have on the community and
mhm,
how recognizable all the football players are, all the athletes really.
mhm,
And I would say ignorance is bliss and a little bit of that, like,
mhm.
because I was just concerned about football
Yeah.
and how to be the best player I could be.
As a freshman, I feel like being a leader has to be hard. And when you're a quarterback, like you want to be the leader. How did you kind of get yourself into that role of, I get it, I'm a freshman, there's older guys on this team, but how do I step up and go, like, I'm running the offense? Like, how do I get my guys behind me? How did you handle that of becoming a leader?
Yeah, well, there's like a natural element to it.
Mhm,
Being in the quarterback position, you do as much communicating as anybody,
mhm,
whether that's with your huddle or with the O line, the receivers. Um, you're kind of naturally in that position. And it's something, I mean, I've been a quarterback my whole life.
mhm,
I started playing quarterback when I was 8 years old. So that piece was never necessarily new. I was super fortunate to have a good senior class who was there, who they were the captains of the team, like Gerald Foster and Luke
mhm,
Gifford, some guys who had been through that program and just knew how to do it the right way.
mhm,
I leaned on those guys. And my quarterback coach, he had this saying that performance is leadership and leadership is performance. Basically,
mhm,
meaning if you go out there and earn the respect on the field, that is as big a piece of leadership as
mhm,
anything. Like, go do your job, go execute, show that the guys can trust you. And
mhm.
that's a big piece of leadership. And I took that to heart, especially my freshman year.
Yeah, I spoke with Max Brown on the podcast. Former five-star, went to USC, and then
Yes.
made a stop at Pitt, and then is now an ESPN analyst. And I was talking to him just what he thought, makes a good quarterback, what makes a leader. And he said you can only lead by example for so long, but then you kind of have to be a vocal guy. I'm curious on your thoughts. What do you think it takes to be a good leader, be a good quarterback?
Mm, yeah. Well, I definitely agree. There's a time that comes where you have to step into that role fully. And that was really my sophomore year. I was voted a captain. Um, that senior class had graduated, and it was kind of my team in a sense. And um, I think the first stage is definitely what happens on the field. Respectfully, I mean, you see it on some teams, like some guys who have great leadership and maybe they're not one of the better players or maybe they don't play that much at all, but they're such a hard worker and they have the respect of the team. Those guys do happen. But when you're the quarterback, there's a level of performance that I think you just have to reach, and a level of communication you have to reach with everybody on the team, especially on the offensive side. And I think you need to be a pillar of consistency, especially when it comes to character. Like that's really how I approach it, how I looked at it. And even in the NFL, like I look at my teammate this last year, Brock Purdy. I think he's a great example of that. He has great respect with his play on the field. He's as consistent as it gets as a human being, and the guys can trust him on and off the field. They know he's going to be even flow. Um, when shit hits a fan, for lack of a better term,
Yeah.
you can count on him. You know what I mean? And I think that's a big piece of being a leader. And I think it's definitely a focal point if you want to be successful as a quarterback. And there's a lot that goes into the position and a lot that goes into leadership. And for me, I've always tried to look at it as like an ever growing process. Like there's no finished products around here.
Mhm. Yeah. I think you said that perfect is it's just a continuous process where you can't just earn it one day and then think you don't have to work hard the next or you don't have to, be accountable the next, which I think is so impressive. And you just touched on it. Throughout your time at Nebraska, there were definitely some ups and there were some downs. What were some of the lessons you learned during your time there of, when things weren't going well and trying to handle that adversity?
Yeah, well, some of those lessons I'll carry with me for the rest of my life. Because it definitely wasn't an easy path. It wasn't an easy journey. There were lots of injuries and hurdles, and we talked a little bit about that expectation I had as a high schooler coming to Nebraska, starting as a freshman. Um, the expectations were really high, and especially the ones that I put on myself. And we never really reached those expectations, as a team and as an individual, I didn't either. And battling with that and kind of understanding a part of life is success. Those goals you set, they're not guaranteed. Like you can
Yeah.
work really, really hard.
Mhm,
That doesn't mean you're going to get exactly what you want.
mhm,
Like that's not life. It's like what can you learn from it? How can you continue to use it as a building block? And I think that's what's helped me stay in the game. My success at Kansas State, and ultimately like getting to the NFL and staying in the NFL are those lessons I learned at Nebraska, how to continue to work harder and harder,
mhm,
how to evolve as a leader, how to handle losing,
mhm.
how to handle winning, how to handle expectations and how not to, which
Yeah.
most often, especially with expectations, external expectations, I really learned not to feed into those. I
Mhm,
think my sophomore year, myself and the team, we just didn't handle those expectations well. There were a lot
mhm,
of external expectations. We were a top 25 team. I was a Heisman favorite, all this stuff. And we fell flat on our face. We didn't
mhm,
do well. We didn't do well with that pressure. We didn't do well with um, handling ourselves. And that was a big learning lesson and really a good dose of humility.
mhm.
And I think just that season alone has really stuck with me and will forever stick with me and how to keep an even head, understanding what hard work truly is and battling through adversity.
Yeah, I mean, similar to in a baseball sense, I feel like when everything's going well or you have a good game, it's easy to just get super high. But then when you're in a slump and you're 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts, like you think you're never going to get a hit again, or you would think like, how am I going to get out of this? In that sophomore year, when you're dealing with the injuries, kind of just losing for probably the first time in your career. How did you stay positive throughout that time?
Yeah. I mean, I really leaned on those close to me. My
Mhm,
family was, halfway across the country, and my roommates were a big support.
mhm,
And even the team was a great support system as well. My position coach, but you got to win.
mhm,
You got
yeah.
to win. And so it was miserable, man. Like it was. I don't know if I don't really want to pretend like I did the best job at handling that in that moment.
Mhm,
I just didn't. I think I learned from it and understood that, look, I can't, if something like this happens again, I have to handle it differently.
mhm,
And I think that's really where, like my junior year, which was COVID, I ended up getting benched and I was living in a hotel by myself to keep away from getting COVID. There's a lot of just stuff going on. And again, we weren't winning as much as we wanted to. And I was in a much different headspace, a much more stable headspace. And I think the key between that year and the next is really the sense of identity. I really put a stake claim in being a football player. Like that was who I was.
mhm,
It's still very much a part of who I am. I'm an athlete. I'm a guy who loves football. I love sports, but it's not who I am. I'd like to think I'm someone who is kind, who's a good friend, a family person. I love my wife. I love my dog. Um, there are a lot of other things that you can root yourself in terms of identity. Obviously, I have faith and believe in God's plan. So,
mhm,
kind of the combination of those things freed me up to be a better football player because I wasn't riding the wave of emotion of all I am is a football player. All I am is if we win or lose this game. All I am is if I can have a completion percentage above 75%, if I could throw for 300 yards. Like at a certain point, you have to move beyond that. And I really think that helped me become a much better player, quarterback, friend, like all of the above when I took my identity instead of rooting it in football and rooting it in something else.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's kind of one of those unteachable lessons. Like you kind of have to go
Yeah.
through it yourself, as much as people tell you that all the time of, your sport isn't your identity. Cause there were days where I would have a bad day at the plate and I would think I was a bad person. Like it was like, this is what my life is. I work so hard for
Yes.
this and I strike
Yes.
out. Like this is who I am.
Well,
And
and
like you said,
there's
it's
like
not,
a battle. There's a battle
yeah.
of like, does it mean like I don't care about it?
Mhm,
Like, and that's not it. Like I
mhm,
care just as much. Trust me. Like
mhm,
I care so much about doing well and about winning. But it's I guess the separation of those ideas and being able to like, man, I kind of suck today,
mhm.
but being able to kind of, all right, let water go off a duck's back and it doesn't affect how I interact with people or how I feel about myself in general.
Yeah, and you said it perfectly. I feel like it makes just enjoying the game a lot easier because you realize, if you do fail, it's not life or death. And then also outside of the sport, you get to enjoy the time with your family, the people around you. And honestly, I feel like just watching you at Kansas State, like you could see that you kind of had a little bit of a swagger back. I want to ask, what went into that decision to transfer into Kansas State?
Honestly, I just needed a change.
Mhm,
Um, I'd spent 4 years at Nebraska. I was a captain 3 of those years. At that point, I had graduated already with my undergrad, and I felt like I gave everything I could have possibly given to the
mhm,
school, and I was being blessed in a sense with an extra year that I wouldn't, under any other circumstance, get.
yeah,
It was my COVID year.
mhm,
So, in my mind, I was like, in order to get to where I wanna go, which is the NFL, give me the best chance to do that. I need a change of scenery. I need to switch something. I need to go somewhere else, learn new lessons and get a new opportunity. And I put my name in the portal with not like I hadn't talked to any other
mhm,
teams. I had no idea what the market was going to be like. I really didn't. And thankfully, Kansas State came along. They were one of the first schools to reach out and um, a great situation for me to come into. And my wife was playing soccer there already at the
mhm,
time. Um, and it just made sense. It made a lot of sense from a football perspective, from a personal perspective,
mhm.
um, and the situation was great. It was great for me, and Manhattan's like another home for me. It's the Little Apple. It's a sweet place to play ball and to go to college.
What were some of those differences that you felt maybe just right when you stepped on campus or throughout the season between your time at Nebraska to Kansas State?
Yeah, I mean, I it's so tough because sometimes the things I say about that time get misconstrued into
Mhm.
being negative comments towards Nebraska.
Yeah.
Um, Especially when I first got there, I remember saying early on, like, this is the most talented team I've been on,
Mhm.
which is true. And then we end up winning the Big 12 title. Like we were a good team.
Mhm.
Um, I'd say immediately the culture was special.
Mhm.
And what I really loved about it, everyone had a chip on their shoulder. Like for me, I felt like, yes, I'd proven myself to an extent at Nebraska, but mainly I was unproven. I didn't
Mhm.
accomplish the things I wanted to accomplish at
Yeah.
Nebraska. So I had a boulder on my shoulder, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? And the guys at K-State, we always had this graphic up in the weight room and it was of the Big 12 schools. And of course, Texas was at the top with the
Yeah.
most 4 and 5 stars. Kansas State was all the way at the bottom
Mhm.
with the least, like recruiting at least,
Yeah.
recruiting ranking was the worst. And we worked our ass off,
Mhm.
worked our ass off and really rooted that team's identity and culture and discipline in being a team that wouldn't break. And we were that. We were that and more, and the talent, there ended up being a lot of talent on that team. I mean, 4 or
Mhm.
5 guys getting drafted that year. I was undrafted, but still in the NFL. And obviously the other quarterback, Will Howard, he
Mhm.
transferred a year later to Ohio State. He gets drafted. Like there were there were guys on that team and just guys that believed and had a lot of fun doing it with each other. And of course, the locker room aspect was very similar to Nebraska, just that love and joy we all had together. But the culture, I'd say, was a big difference that immediately struck me. Like, yeah, everyone around here, they have a chip on their shoulder. They want to prove something, which is cool.
Yeah. I remember watching a few of your games, and you had quite a few rushing touchdowns during your time at Kansas State. We live in kind of an age where I think some quarterbacks, try to protect themselves a little bit more. And you did not. Like, I feel like it was fun to watch, like, you just
Yes,
put your body on the line. And it just showed, like, how much you love football. Did you feel like at your time at Kansas State, like, you kind of fell in love with the game a little bit more?
absolutely, dude. Absolutely. And as much as I hate to be that way, like winning helps a ton, man.
Yeah.
It does. And to get that reward, that I felt like I had worked that at my entire college experience, I'd really point to the Oklahoma game.
Mhm.
My family was
That
able to
was
be there.
sick.
Yeah, we were playing at night. They were the fifth ranked team in the country, and we had just come off a game where we lost to Tulane, which at the time was brutal. It was like, how could we lose to this team? We did not play up to our standard. They ended up winning the Peach Bowl that year, so they were a really good team.
Yeah.
But at the time, it was like, what the hell?
Mhm.
Um, and so we're going into this hostile environment, and it's the best game of my college career, and we just had our backs against the wall. And I think all of those lessons we talked about at Nebraska and just the work that went into that moment, it was so cool to have that payoff, and it really was falling in love with the game again, falling in love with the work, the
Mhm.
process of it, having faith. I'd gotten shoulder surgery on my right shoulder um, the last week I was at Nebraska before transferring.
Mhm.
So I really didn't have much of spring ball at all.
Mhm.
And I was kind of rediscovering my throwing motion and rediscovering, just a lot goes into that as a guy whose job is to throw the ball. Like you get surgery on
Mhm.
your shoulder, there's a lot of adjustments. So to be able to come through all of that on the other side and have success was really, really cool.
Today's episode is brought to you by Relight Hydration, my go to for staying fueled and refreshed. As a former athlete, I know how important it is to stay hydrated. And Relight makes it simple with clean ingredients and essential electrolytes. My two favorite flavors, lemon lime for that crisp, classic kick, and mixed berry when I want something a little sweeter. Whether it's before a workout, during a long day, or after training, Relight keeps me going. You can try it yourself and get 15% off with my code Athletes Mindset at checkout. That's Athletes Mindset for 15% off at Relight. Stay sharp, stay hydrated. Then you finish up your time at Kansas State. You go undrafted, but you sign with the Lions, and
Yeah.
then you go through camp, and then you're in the UFL. Um, During your time in the UFL, what was your mindset while you were playing in Birmingham? Because I feel like that's got to be tough when your dream is to be playing in the NFL and you're playing in the UFL, but then you win MVP. What was kind of just your mantra, your mindset during that time?
Absolutely. I mean, it was truly a day by day mindset. Like I'm here so I can get another opportunity in the NFL.
Mhm.
And what a cool experience that was. I'm so thankful for that experience
Mhm.
because without it, I wouldn't be in the NFL right now.
Mhm.
To have that second opportunity to prove myself, I guess that's
Mhm.
that chip on my shoulder ever since I
Mhm.
I went to Kansas State, it hasn't left, you know?
Mhm.
And I think I've found that's a great way to motivate myself. Um, in that UFL experience, it was different and it could be hard. It was like professional JUCO is what I always call it, like bounce backs and just guys like first round picks, second round pick, third round pick. So this guy played in the NFL for 5 years and now he's here with me in Birmingham. And it was just about letting it rip, having fun with it. And it was kind of the ultimate back against the wall. Like if this doesn't
Mhm.
work out, like I'm done playing ball.
Yeah.
Ultimately, like this is kind of a last chance.
When was it during that season that you felt like, all right, I'm kind of balling out. Like this is going really well. Like once this season ends, like someone's gonna have to sign me. Like someone's gonna want me. Was there a point that season when you're like, yeah, I'm kind of going off?
I think it was maybe week 7 or 8, and it's a 10-week regular season
Mhm.
where my agent had texted me just saying like we think you're going to win MVP, and there are teams asking about you, and I'm like, man, that's kind of crazy. Like,
Hell
I
yeah.
guess I was just in the moment. There wasn't a
Mhm,
lot of thought to that necessarily. Like, I was balling. Like, we were winning
mhm,
games. We went
mhm,
9-1 in the regular season. Um, but in my mind, I was just kind of like, we're doing what we're supposed to do, just trying to
mhm.
stay almost tunnel vision
Yeah.
on the experience. And part of that, again, goes back to my time in Nebraska. Like, I don't want the external expectations. I don't
Mhm,
want outside noise affecting
mhm,
how I go to work and the work we put in as a team, and the goal I obviously set to get back to the NFL. Like, that is what it is. Let me stay in my lane, control what I can, which is the work, how I perform, how I
mhm,
lead, and the rest will take care of itself. And I guess kind of that let go and um let live kind of mindset of
mhm,
just, look, I'm going to put everything I have on the table always.
mhm.
The rest will take care of itself.
Yeah. I mean, I think you in that position, you kinda just have to go all in and just say, like, there is no other option besides me to go off or, like, be successful here.
Yeah. And I mean, some of those guys, I guess some people can struggle with accepting their circumstances, like, especially some of those draft picks. Like, man, 2 years ago, I was on the Packers. I was a second round pick,
Mhm.
and like, I shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
Like, no, you're where you are for a reason. Like, embrace where you are, embrace what you have to do, what it's going to take to get where you want. And you do all of that, kind of like I spoke to earlier, it doesn't guarantee success. It doesn't guarantee
Mhm,
the outcome you're looking for, but at least
mhm.
you can look yourself in the mirror. At least you can feel good about how you went about it, the work you put in, and there's no regrets in that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you win MVP, you win championship MVP. Can you just walk me through kind of that process of, you signing back into the NFL with the Jets at first, correct? And then just what went through that process to where you are now?
Yeah. So after the season, there was probably about a month of kind of waiting around for the right opportunity. Ironically, the Jets were the first team that wanted to sign me, but I felt like I was in a good enough position to kind of wait it out a bit to
Mhm,
find a better roster situation to go
mhm,
to. Ultimately, that came along in Seattle, and I went out there and I did a workout, and it looked like everything was going perfect. They were going to sign me, and at the end of the workout, maybe 20 minutes after, they're like, "Yeah, we're not gonna sign anybody today, but thank you for coming out. We think the world of you. You think you're a great player and blah, 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 like, great season." And all that's great, but they didn't sign me, you know? So it's
Yeah.
like, "All right, thanks, man, but I guess I'm gonna go home now."
Yeah.
And from there, we're like, "Okay, let's go to the Jets, like, it's time." It's right about training camp starting, like, there's no other option but this
Mhm,
option. So we did it. Went out there, they signed me, and basically a week and a half later was the first preseason game. So it was like bang bang. That was one interesting thing to experience, is going off of a full 12 game schedule, regular
mhm.
season plus playoffs, about a month off, right into an NFL season, which is from August through January.
Yeah.
So I had like a full year basically
Of
of
football.
football,
That's crazy.
which was crazy. And I mean, I say I love ball. Like, how much do you love it? So
Yeah.
I uh I made the team after that, which was really freaking cool. And getting to be in the room with Tyrod Taylor and Aaron Rodgers, like,
Mhm,
whoa, like my world a year ago, I went from being cut by the Lions
mhm,
to now being in a room on the Jets with Aaron Rodgers and
mhm,
Tyrod and being an NFL quarterback. It was just crazy what a
yeah,
year, like,
mhm,
what a difference a year can make.
yeah,
And it was awesome.
yeah. And then you end up on the 49ers, and then didn't you go back
Yeah.
to the
So
Jets? So, yeah,
that
how did that situation play out?
yeah, I spent that whole season with the Jets, and then the following off season, I was also with the Jets, OTAs, spring ball, and then training camp. After training camp and the preseason, I signed with the Niners, and
Mhm,
I mean, a blessing to be there and to be in such a great organization with great guys, to win games and just
mhm,
see what a successful NFL organization looks like, operates like. But somewhere around, I think it was week 12 or 13, um, we got a call about being the backup on the Jets for a
mhm.
week. May a week to 3 weeks, and it's there's weird roster management stuff. So like if you're on the practice squad, a team can claim you, and if they claim you, they have to put you on active roster for 3 weeks. And for me, the situation with the Niners, I mean, we were going to try and play for a Super Bowl, and I'd
Mhm,
I'd been the backup there for about 8, 9 weeks and was obviously very invested in that season and that
mhm,
team. I didn't wanna get claimed by anybody, like,
yeah,
unless I was gonna start or play and have that opportunity to prove myself in a real NFL game.
mhm,
I really didn't wanna be claimed by anybody. So that kinda opportunity was the perfect in between to
mhm.
where I could go, be on the active and be the backup for a game, and then depending on the situation, go back to San Francisco, which is
Yeah,
exactly what I did. But
mhm,
what a trip that was. I mean, flying out of San Francisco all the way to LaGuardia, which is like in Brooklyn, basically,
mhm,
6-hour trip, get off the plane, the time change, underrated, like very
mhm,
hard to deal with
yeah,
sometimes. 3 hour time, I lose 3 hours. I got to wake up at 6 the next morning, which is like 3 o'clock in the morning for me.
mhm,
Sign my contract with the Jets, go through the physical, and then practice that afternoon,
mhm.
learn our game plan for that week. And we're playing on Sunday, and this is on Wednesday. So tight, tight turnaround.
Yeah.
And we fly to Jacksonville, get our butts absolutely whooped by the Jaguars.
Mhm.
And we fly back. A couple days later, I'm back in San Francisco. Yeah.
That is a wild story. Like, I can't imagine one, like, being on a different team, like, in the middle of the season. Like, I get, like, the trades happen, but just like, "Hey, I'm gonna go to New York for a weekend. I'll be back, guys. Don't worry."
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
crazy experience.
The vibes couldn't be more different. I mean, obviously the Jets at that time, they may have been 3-10 or so, and the
Mhm,
Niners, we were like 10-4 or something to that extent, like just polar opposites, and an NFL season is so long,
mhm.
and when you're losing, it can be miserable. It could be miserable in an NFL locker room because it's a business, and
Yeah.
30+% of the league gets turned over every year.
Mhm.
Like there's change, and when you're on a losing team, you're like, this team will not be the same next year, guaranteed. That's
Yeah.
just the nature of it. So the vibes there at the end of the year in New York, definitely different than what I was experiencing in San Francisco.
Yeah, I mean, the change obviously happens way more often too when you aren't winning. But in San Francisco, you guys have been winning, and I feel like you've been a part of a really good group. What has that group in San Francisco been like, and what has this experience been like for you?
There are a lot of veterans, guys like George Kittle and Christian McCaffrey and Fred Warner, Bosa, like big names, guys who have been in the league for a little bit and who understand what it takes to reach a Super Bowl, to win in
Mhm,
this league consistently. So they just knew how to do it the right way. Everything
mhm,
from practicing to game prep to turning around on a quick week and playing on
mhm,
Thursday night to what Monday night games are like. I felt like their processes were all really dialed in. So being able to experience that and experience it in like a team setting like that
mhm,
was really cool. I felt like I learned a lot from that experience, and I'm excited to see where it can go.
mhm,
Like playing for Kyle Shanahan, I think the best coach in the game.
mhm,
Just learning how to be a better player, and that's talked about leadership, but as a player, as an athlete, like that process never changes either. Like you're
mhm.
constantly evolving. Like, what does it take for me to get to that next step?
Yeah. What are some things that you think just casual fans or just fans in general don't understand about the NFL and the grind that you have to go through? I mean, you told one story about how you had to fly to New York for
Yeah.
one weekend, get your butt kicked, and then head back. What are some things that people just don't understand?
Yeah, I would say it's not all sunshine and rainbows. I think guys are definitely grateful to be there, grateful to have this opportunity to play a
Mhm,
kid's game for a king's ransom. That's always the thing you
mhm,
hear around the league, and that's true. That's all definitely true. Um, But there are levels to that. Not everyone's making a king's ransom now.
mhm.
And,
Yeah.
also the work that goes into it, the preparation that goes into it. Like I was there as the 3rd string guy, and I'd like to say I'd show up the exact same way if I was a starter.
Mhm,
I was there from 7 to 7, every day.
mhm,
And during the season, it's every day. It's Monday through Sunday, and
mhm,
you're grinding on that week. You're doing what you can to keep your body right. Um to be able to work out and get paid for it, that's awesome. So like I'm not complaining by any stretch. Um, but it is a lot and it can be a lot mentally and it is a grind, to do that week in and week out, have that reward of winning. And then sometimes you do it all and you lose. And it's like, how do we bounce back? We got the Rams this week. We got the Ravens this week, whoever it may be. Every team is loaded with stars, guys who can play, guys who you have a lot of respect for. And so it's constant, but it's what I signed up for and I'm signing up for it again. Like I love it.
Yeah, that's so sick. You're in the off season now. What are some things that you're working on this off season? Trying to implement going into next season.
Yeah, I think for me, like it's all about my footwork. Really dialing in my base and my footwork, and just making sure I can continue to be a consistent thrower of the ball. Something I've always been known for, really, is obviously the athletic aspect of playing quarterback. My ability to run the ball, my ability to make a few guys miss. But the NFL it's a passing league, and you got to be able to throw the ball at an elite level if you want to stick around. And I've I've really worked at it over this stretch of years, obviously, and felt like I've made a lot of good strides in that area, but you can never stop improving. Like maybe a few years back, I remember watching a clip of Tom Brady, who was 40 years old at the time, the GOAT
Yeah.
of playing quarterback, and the guy's working his ass off in the off season. Like if a guy like that can do it, you better make sure a guy like me is doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel good about my process. I'm working over at a place called Explosive Edge, and we're training our asses off, man, and then making sure I throw at least 2 to 3 times a week, and working on those fundamentals and hammering things away so that the physical aspect is taken care of. Because there's a whole nother side, maybe 70% of the job is the mental aspect and how you operate and how you make decisions and can lead a huddle and be clear and concise.
Yeah. How do you maintain, that positivity? I mean, like you said, it's a grind and things might not be going well. You might have a bad practice week. How do you stay positive and, just, keep your mental health sane during those times?
Yeah, I think a big thing is really controlling what you can. Um, that's a big thing I really focus on. There's so many things in life that are outside of our control, but maybe less things than you think, and a lot of that is perspective and a lot of that is a positive mindset. And what I think is really closely tied to that is gratitude. It's if you have gratitude and you're thankful for where you are and the things you've been blessed with and have been given the opportunity to do. And especially for me right now, like this is everything I could have ever asked for. I owe it to the opportunity to give it everything I have. And that's part of like controlling what I can. Be thankful for what I have and now go freaking execute what you have. Like I think it can be that simple. And that's how I look at it.
Yeah, absolutely. I end every conversation with the same question. If you could go back and give your younger self just one piece of advice, let's say freshman year at Nebraska, Adrian, what advice are you giving him?
Mm. That's tough. Oh, there's so many things I'd want to say. Like
Yeah.
I would say be where your feet are, and I think that's a big thing. So many of us reminisce on how it was playing little league baseball or playing Pop Warner football or playing football on Friday night lights, and I think every aspect of this journey has been so freaking cool for me. And I've been able to maintain that and I never want to lose it. And I it's probably what I'd say to him, freshman year self, like, dude, just enjoy where you are. You're gonna work hard. You love to compete. Like things will take care of itself. It won't be how you planned it, but it'll be everything you wanted.
Yeah, that's great advice. Adrian, I appreciate you taking the time to hop on. I think so many people are going to have some great takeaways from this. So I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you for having me.
Yes, sir. Thank you again to Adrian for sharing his journey and insight into the mental side of the game. If you enjoyed this conversation, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who would find it valuable. Thanks for tuning in and keep moving forward. Until next time.